So, a few weeks ago, a Steam server issue accidentally enabled certain download depots to be accessed by anyone for just a few brief hours. In that time, a beta version of Undertale was found, with the build dated from September 8th, 2015, just 1 week before the game released. This version of Undertale was more than likely the very final beta test that Toby distributed to his playtesters, and as such, there is very little that's actually different from the final game. This version of the game, however, does have one cut feature in it that we had known about, but it was something I thought was cut from development far longer than just 1 week before launch. However, this version also has a few small changes that would have caused the already super broken speedruns of the game to have access to some truly absurd glitches because of a handful of oversights that were just 1 week from making it into the first official release. So, let's talk about Undertale version 0.99 and the exclusive mechanic that was cut from development just 1 week before the game launched. Also, before the video, the majority of my viewers are not subscribed to the channel. Subscribing is free and only takes a moment and helps me out a ton with the YouTube algorithm. And if you enjoy my videos, it helps me make more. Thank you, and enjoy the video. So, before we discuss the mechanical changes and the secret cut feature I've been hinting at, you may ask if there was any lore changes or dialogue changes made to this version. After all, you all are fiending for any droplets of information about Gaster. And surprisingly, no. There is only one singular dialogue change. In the snail farm area, Napstablook is erroneously referred to with he/him pronouns during one conversation and one conversation only, and this was fixed before launch as Napstablook uses exclusively they/them everywhere else in the game. Funnily enough, this is not the last time this would occur with Napstablook specifically, as they were also referred to incorrectly in the very first publication of the Undertale art book, and this was changed for all future releases of that product. So yeah, no extra lore or cut interactions or anything like that. This version is largely identical to the launch version 1.0, which means the colorblind unfriendly light blue attacks are here, multiple fun value events don't work properly because the code checks for incorrect capitalization, and all the other fun 1.0 jank is here and accounted for. But where things go wild starts with diagonal walls. Diagonal walls are all over the place in Undertale, and in all versions, they're very sturdy and stable whenever you walk into them, causing you to slide along them seamlessly. They're almost as sturdy and stable as the desks from the sponsor of today's video, FlexiSpot. This video is sponsored by FlexiSpot. A desk is probably the single most important thing in your entire office and/or gaming setup, and yet, it's often one of the most overlooked things. I've used really bad, low-quality desks before, and having something really stable helps a ton. That's where the sponsor of today's video, FlexiSpot, comes in. Their premium standing E7 Pro desk is exactly what I look for in a desk. It's simple, it looks great, it's stable, and it's super easy to put together. I mean, I was able to put it together by myself, and that's saying a lot. Besides having ample room for all sorts of stuff like monitors, keyboards, large mouse pads, you name it, the E7 Pro also comes with an attachable cable management tray to hide all of your wires and get things connected easily. I haven't even mentioned the best part of this premium standing desk. The standing. Standing desks are really useful if you work long hours and you have to sit at a desk often. It can be really good for you to stand up from time to time in order to stretch out and avoid cramping or pain from being sat down for too long. Additionally, having a standing desk is genuinely just useful if you use it while sitting, as you can adjust the height freely and on the fly. As a 6'4" person, sometimes it can be impossible to find normal desks that are the right height for me, but that's a thing of the past with standing desks. The E7 can ascend to a frankly ridiculous height. I mean, just look at this. Again, I'm 6'4" and it's more than tall enough for me. If you want to get one for yourself, use my link in the description or the pinned comment and use code YTE7P50 to get $50 off of your purchase. Thank you again to FlexiSpot once again for sponsoring this video. So, diagonal walls. I remember a long time ago during the Summer Games Done Quick event in 2018, Undertale insider and tester, as well as the Photoshop asset creator for the Omega Flowey fight, Everdread, joined us to provide some interesting commentary on the game. One little tidbit I found out from that experience was that diagonal walls apparently had some sort of critical issue that was fixed extremely close to release. Well, this leaked build has exactly that. By pressing the menu key and a directional key at the same time to menu buffer into the wall, you can clip through and escape from every single diagonal wall in the game, allowing you to go out of bounds in a ton of different rooms. This would allow speedrunners to do some truly incredible things in so many rooms. Here's a few examples of how broken this would be. You can skip Greater Dog by clipping here and just simply walking around it. You can skip the ice puzzle by clipping here and walking around. And probably the most notable single example, you can skip all of Hotland Left Floor 1 by clipping through the lab wall here and walking around the Royal Guards. This one in particular would completely change how the speedrun of the game would be played in all glitched categories. Pretty much any diagonal wall is ripe to be broken in this build and can let you do a ton of broken stuff as a result. It's crazy to think that this was only just 1 week from being undetected and making it into the official launch of the game, but this is really only useful and broken for people who know how to exploit this trick specifically. What if I told you that this beta version of Undertale had a cut feature that almost made it into the final game, present in this build that would have broken countless people's playthroughs? Funnily enough, I was actually going to put this in one of those 10 facts you don't know videos, but I think it's better talked about here. Let me tell you about Quiche Guilt. Many of you are probably familiar with the abandoned Quiche, a hidden item in Waterfall you can obtain in a secret room. However, this version of the game has the cut Quiche Guilt mechanic. This makes it so that if you leave the Quiche in this room, a random amount of time later, a text box will pop up reminding you of the guilt you felt for leaving the Quiche there. It's a pretty funny joke, but it could also potentially give bad feedback. It could signify to players that they've made a mistake, and players may think it invalidates their pacifist run or something like that. And considering the random nature of the text box, some players wouldn't see it at all, and other players will have gone so long since the event that they would have forgotten where it even came from in the first place. So say you accidentally did something in an interaction with a monster, got this text box randomly, completely forgetting that it was from the Quiche, and then suddenly you're thinking, oh crap, did I just ruin my playthrough? Better start from the beginning. But here's the real big problem with it, the text box itself. If you watched my video breaking down the punch card, you'll remember how basically the entire game is controlled by the global.interact value, and that setting this value to 0 in the middle of a cutscene will allow the player to move through it. This text box will do exactly that. And it just so happens that because of the random timer function controlling this Quiche Guilt event, it can occur at any time during any cutscene, giving this one-off gag the capability of randomly ruining any single cutscene in the game, allowing you to move through them or just breaking a player's playthrough as a result. For speedrunners, this would be a completely RNG chance to potentially skip any scene in the game without the punch card, but it would be completely uncontrollable and couldn't be relied on. So it would have been a total mess for casual play because it would have broken a ton of cutscenes, causing tons of issues for tons of players, and it wouldn't have even been super useful for speedrunners due to the randomness of the event. It might not even trigger at all during your entire playthrough. We had known about this mechanic for years due to remnants in the code, but I never imagined it would be present in a build of the game dating just 1 week before release. Hello everyone, it's Shayy from the future here. So as it turns out, I lied a little bit. I mentioned the Quiche Guilt event was random and could occur during cutscenes, but this was preliminary script before the details were actually known. As it turns out, the timing of the Quiche Guilt text box is not random, sort of. It may certainly feel random, and at first I thought it was, but then we looked into the code of the game to see how it actually works, and turns out not only is it predictable, but it actually has speedrun application. A pretty big one, in fact. It lets you skip sands in the genocide run. Yeah. So, let's do a technical deep dive since I know you love those. When the Quiche is dropped from the inventory, a timer event called an alarm is started in the game that counts down. But in order for this to happen, 3 things must be true. You have to leave the room that you dropped the Quiche in, global.interact has to be set to 0, meaning you're not in a cutscene, and the menu can't be open. This timer is set for 60 frames, so 2 seconds of real time since Undertale runs at 30 frames per second. If the timer hits 0 and the 3 conditions I mentioned earlier aren't met, then it loops and tries again until it succeeds, or until the alarm event is wiped out by turning the game off or something. Once the alarm timer hits 0 with the 3 conditions met, it increments a value we'll call timer 1 by a value of 1. The value of timer 1 will keep increasing until eventually it hits the value of 91, at which point the alarm event is set to -1 and is stopped from being used. Once this happens, a new timer called Timer 2 will activate, attempting to count up from 0 to 80, and when it hits 80, the text box will activate. Timer 2 shares the latter two conditions as the first timer, so it can't increment if you're in a cutscene or if the menu is opened. But unlike before, where it would just miss one cycle of progression, Timer 2 is forced to 0 if either of those things happen, meaning you can actually indefinitely delay the Quiche Guilt text box until you need it. So this creates kind of a pseudo-randomness where mundane gameplay, such as interacting with something or opening the menu or getting into a battle, can delay this event from occurring. Now you might be wondering, I said the values cannot increment while in a cutscene, which is true. But here's the thing. If you were to interact with something on the same frame that the Quiche Guilt text box is queued to appear when Timer 2 has hit the final value of 80, then both events will happen at the same time, allowing you to essentially have a one-time use punch card exploit whenever the Quiche Guilt is ready to be deployed. While this wouldn't happen to a very high percentage of players, due to the large volume of users playing the game Undertale, it definitely will happen to quite a number of people accidentally. While it is frame perfect, it's not particularly unlikely to execute a frame perfect trick totally by accident, especially since this game only runs at 30 FPS. For example, have you ever walked out of a room and gotten the encounter exclamation point at the same time, causing the encounter to just go away? That's a frame perfect trick, but it happens to people accidentally quite often. So anyway, yeah, you can skip Sans with the Quiche. By dropping the Quiche and keeping track of the timing throughout the walk through New Home, you'll be able to force the Quiche text box to appear on top of the box text before Sans right here by timing a frame perfect input, allowing you to walk with the box text up and then use the box text as a makeshift punch card to reset global.interact and skip Sans. Normally, you can't get the punch card item at all in a genocide speedrun, since the Nice Cream guy never appears in Waterfall on that route. So, this would be pretty powerful. Also, while recording footage for this video, I found a couple of additional things that were changed between versions, one of which I don't think was known about by anyone until just now. A lot of areas have miscolored tiles all over the place, like check out this one in New Home for instance. A lot of these persist in the final game, but there's a lot of them in version 0.99, and this one in particular is really jarring considering it's in such a pivotal and serious moment in the story. Also, I mentioned Napstablook being the only text change, but actually there is one other thing. In the Metaton cooking show room, this refrigerator has incomplete debug text that was accidentally left over, which surprised me and also got a good reaction out of me when I saw it for the first time. And then, while recording footage for the main part of this video, I found out that in this version, the music incorrectly plays in this room here to the left of Sans' sentry station. Normally, it's just supposed to be a water splash noise, but once you see Undyne for the first time, the track Waterfall plays in this room, which caught me off guard. It's a pretty small oversight, but it is pretty funny. Okay, back to past Shayy now. It's kind of incredible to think that something this busted almost made it into the final game, which is pretty impressive considering Undertale almost never breaks in a casual setting despite all of the funny programming that the game has. It's certainly a very interesting peek into the development cycle of the game, and also the importance of playtesting. If Toby hadn't had other people test the game and just did it himself, chances are all of this would have been in the game's launch and potentially hampered the experience for a ton of people. Playtesters are super important for video games in general, and they're always a really underappreciated part of the process. Oversights will slip through the cracks, and it's important to have other sets of eyes there to catch them. Anyway, thank you for watching this brief little video about Undertale version 0.99. Trying to get back into production in full swing now after dropping that mammoth Undertale review last month, and I really appreciate everyone's patience. Thank you, and I hope you have a great night.